Hi, how y'all doing? My name is Jarrett Klein. I'm running for Fresno Superior Court Judge. I have a 6-point platform that I'd like to take into my judgeship. It's listed on my website, jarrettkleinforjudge.com. There's flyers in the back. In the interest of brevity, I can't go into each single point. However, I do have a vision for the court. I think that in light of the realignment that occurred, we have to be creative in our attempts to rehabilitate and incarcerate criminals. And as far as being tough on crime, as the agricultural crimes prosecutor, I doubled the average amount of custody time that a person under that grant was receiving. I've had over $300,000 of restitution ordered to victims of crime. I would like your support, and I would like your vote. My name is Jarrett Klein. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for including me in this forum. I'm Lisa Gamoyan. I'm born and raised in Fresno County, third generation on both sides of my family to live and reside here in Fresno County. I grew up on a small farm. I still live there. I'm a product of local public schools, Fresno State, Hastings Law School, and I always wanted to return home, and I did. I was in civil practice for 5 years, and then I went to the Fresno County District Attorney's Office, where I've been for the last 25 years. It's a great job. It's a great position. I have served all of you by giving voice to victims and keeping the most dangerous and violent felons off our streets to keep all of us safe. And I want to continue my service to you from the bench. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Hill, and thank you very much for having this forum. We don't have adequate opportunities to actually have the public hear us all speak, and I am very concerned that this may not be the best way to pick a judge, since it may come down to how many signs we have out there. I have been practicing law for the last 24 years. I came here in 1990. I was recruited by the law firm of McCormick Barstow, and I worked in civil practice for 4 years there and another year elsewhere before going to the district attorney's office. I worked in the district attorney's office for 10 years, where I prosecuted a wide range of cases and worked on some specialty felony trial teams as well. I think that what a judge can bring to the table here and needs to bring to the table for the community is having a broad range of experience. I've done defense work, I've done prosecution. Having done defense work, I can tell you I think I've developed a pretty good BS meter. And I think that's an important attribute for a judge.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Administrative Law Judge Stephen Smith, and I'm running for Fresno County Superior Court Judge. I've lived here in Fresno for over 50 years, grew up here, and what I've noticed is that while our values remain the same, our community continues to change. I was a private criminal defense attorney for approximately 20 years before taking the bench. I conducted serious felony trials in over 6 different counties, made court appearances in over half the counties of the state, including the federal courts. We need judges who are compassionate and firm to deal with Fresno's crime rates, but who also understand the diversity of our community and the complexities of our businesses that are here in the county. For the last 5.5 years, I've been providing reasoned justice, doing thousands of hearings in unemployment, disability, and taxation cases. And if elected to the Fresno County Superior Court, I'll continue bringing that reasoned justice to my decisions. Thank you.
One of my points actually specifically addresses this particular issue. The Attorney General came down with a report regarding truancy in the state of California. And there's been a direct correlation between truancy, dropping out, and criminality. In fact, it's very highly disproportionate in the African American community. And I agree that you have to go out before they come to court. And one of the ways that I'm looking to do that is perhaps starting neighborhood courts, where people from the legal community go out into the various communities and address these problems before they become a full-fledged, issue for the courts to handle. It's been very successful in San Francisco, also Yolo County, and I think it could be successful here. And part of my platform is to actually get that implemented. I'm going to be not going to be an activist judge, but I'm certainly going to be an active judge in the community. I'm a member of several community organizations currently, and I believe that's what we have to do.
With being a judge, of course, you're limited by and whom you interact with, depending upon who comes before you in your courtroom. There's a reason that we have the figure of justice, blind justice, holding the scales, and she's blind, and that's because she's not to consider, a person's sex, their sexual orientation, their race, their religious background at all. And certainly, I would not consider any of those things. But a judge does have discretion in handing down sentences, and that is weighing aggravating versus mitigating circumstances. So most definitely, I would want to know a person's background, their past history, family history, educational history, prior history in the judicial system and in the penal system. But race would not be a consideration.
I do agree with many of the comments that were made about the fact that there are many things that need to be done from a societal standpoint to assist. I think addressing poverty is one of the main things that can be done. But from the perspective of what a judge can do, I think you need to be careful as a judge not to make subtle assessments based upon some kind of imprinted biases that I think are part of our culture. And I think to deny that that's part of our culture is to be blind to the reality that people get sentenced differently in court, in part based upon color. And I don't believe it is intentional, but I believe it happens. I was fortunate enough to be part of the Federal Defender's Office for a period of time, and they've recently, the Federal Sentencing Commission has recently altered their guidelines based on the crack cocaine disparity, where they sentence people at 100 times the level of someone who was charged with crack as opposed to regular cocaine. And I think we need to look at sentencing issues.
For the past 5.5 years, I've worked with the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. When I came into that agency in 2008, after closing my criminal defense practice, the CUIAB was on a federal corrective action plan dating back to 2001 because our agency was failing to meet their timeline and performance standards. Here in our Fresno office for the past 20 months, we have consecutively met all federal compliance and performance and time standards. We're the only office in the state of the 11 offices that has done so. I'm part of a team that has brought our agency out of that federal corrective action plan. The greatest thing I've learned as a judge sitting on the bench is don't judge a book by the cover. And I've made more mistakes and seen more of my colleagues making that mistake. My job when I'm in that courtroom is to make sure that everybody that comes in there receives a fair and impartial hearing. They come in with a clean slate. I've already proven I've been doing it for the last 5.5 years, and I bring that to the Superior Court bench if I'm elected June 3rd. Thank you.
Our next question, and we'll start with you, Stephen, since you have the microphone, and go all the way back. Our next question, with the impending release of even more convicted criminals from prison due to overcrowding, what can be done to impose alternative punishments outside of prison?
All right, so the prison realignment is the law, and so us as judges are going to have to work with that. There are some candidates up here who are saying eliminate all alternative sentencing programs. Let's just stick right with jail. We're going to get rid of diversion. We're going to get rid of drug treatment programs. We're going to focus on custody time. That's naive and ignorant, because the reality is we cannot house serious and mid-level offenders if we continue to incarcerate low-level offenders and take up jail space. So we really have to come up as a justice community, which includes the district attorney's office, the public defender's office, local law enforcement, and the courts, coming together and researching and developing and implementing quality alternative sentencing programs. That way we have a place to put these lower level offenders, creating more space for the mid-level and serious offenders that need to be incarcerated.
I think that a judge needs to be open to alternative sentences for the reasons that Stephen stated. We also know we have the empirical data. Again, through the federal government has done very thorough testing, and they found that in terms of recidivism rates, that people who are incarcerated for drug offenses are vastly more likely to reoffend than those that go through drug treatment. Now, there are plenty of people who say, well, those programs don't work. Well, they're looking at programs that are 30 days and 60 days, and that's true. They don't address the root of the problem. We know what does work. We need to be willing to do that. It's more cost effective, it's more humane, it heals the community. There are other types of alternative sentencing, such as VORP, the Victim Offender Reconciliation Program. I have seen that have a tremendous impact upon the lives of people who both have been charged with crimes and the victims of crimes, who have come together and gotten to know each other and seen things from a different perspective, and that's healing to our community.
Even before realignment, we in Fresno County were feeling the effects of jail overcrowding, which amounted to people being released from jail without even making one court appearance. And that continues to be aggravated by realignment. And so what a judge needs to do, first and foremost, is we've got to free up jail space. And I have a plan to do that, and that would be to force attorneys in court to prepare their cases and be ready to proceed, either to prelim, to plea, or dismissal. But it's going to require all the attorneys to be prepared, and that's not happening now. Consequently, we can free up jail space if we move cases through the system quickly. 75% of the jail population today is pre-trial. They have not been sentenced. In order for any diversion or rehabilitation program to work, there's got to be two components. There's got to be...
You can wrap up your sentence.
There's two components. There has to be an incentive to do a program. And the only way that you can inspire and have people choose to do a program is if they know they're going to get out of jail. That's the incentive. And by the other side of that is there's got to be a consequence for failure to complete your program. And again, that's going to have to be penal. The consequences are if you fail to complete your program, you go to jail.
Well, realignment's a fact of life. There's some things that could have been implemented better. However, it's something we have to deal with as judicial officers. And because of the lack of space in the jails, you have to start to get creative with certain programs. One of the points of my platform I've had in place since February 10th is Veterans Court. They have Veterans Court all around Fresno. We don't have it in Fresno. We have a Veterans Stand Down that happens at very regular intervals. I also would like an expansion of the mental health court. Obviously, violent crimes in either one of these courts probably wouldn't go. But if you have some victim buy-in, especially with the Veterans Court, they should treat certain individuals with dignity and respect for the sacrifices they made for our country. So again, you have to be creative, you have to be innovative. I believe that we can use technology. I believe that the current court process isn't broken. We have a smart, talented judiciary. What we need to do is just make the process a little bit better. And I go into great detail about the technology we can use, including things such as a smartphone application, in order to make this process better. Thank you. And again, I think it was like I stated earlier, it dovetails on the previous question. Recidivism is a problem, but while punishing those that deserve to be punished, violent predatory criminals, certainly needs to happen. In order to stop recidivism, you have to have community buy-in. You have to get out from behind the pulpit in the court, if you will, and reach out to community partners. You have to be innovative. You have to come up with different programs. unless you're going to put someone away forever, a lot of time we're going to see these guys again. I'm in court every day. I see it every day. I have guys with 6, 7, 8 cases, and unfortunately, based on some of the sentencing laws that we have now, it's very hard to keep these individuals out of your houses and backyards and out of your copper wiring. But you have to have community buy-in. You have to get out and do the work. That's what it comes down to. Thank you.
Like any solid built building, it's dependent on the foundation. And before we even know if, above the foundation, if a program is going to work, we have to test it. And in order to test it, we have to be able to, and I know it sounds bad, is incarcerate. Because we have to encourage people, have to have a means of encouraging people to want to participate in a program. Addiction is a terrible thing, and it's a constant fight. It's an hour-to-hour, day-to-day fight that people have when they are addicted. And you have to provide an incentive to do a program, and again, there has to be a consequence if they fail. The problem in Fresno County is we do not have the foundation. We don't have jail space in order to provide the incentive, and we don't have jail space in order to provide the consequence. So we don't know in Fresno County what program works. Certainly, we have seen the results, and the programs we're sending them to do not work.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm sorry I'm late, everybody. I was working on Atlantic time, not Pacific time this afternoon. So
I'll go ahead and repeat the question for you, Mr. McGill, so you can answer. California's rate of repeat offenders is as high as any in the nation. What is your plan to affect this?
The reality is there needs to be a new plan. The plan that I come up with is this. We need to realize the fact that we need to deal with people and not see them as criminals. We need to start dealing with the fact that people that we have in our community need the opportunity from the court to do something about their criminality. We need to start acting actively as judges, dealing with the fact that when you're dealing with somebody who's in front of you and they're a nonviolent felon, we need to come up with ideas. There's drug programs that have worked. I disagree with my opponent to my right. They've worked. We need to work on those more. We need to recognize our community, and we need to start acting more effectively with our community. I see that as the court system getting involved in the community and starting to deal with criminality in the community itself. We need to start talking about the fact that there needs to be programs for people, not criminal time in jail. We don't have space in our jail. It's just not going to work anymore. So let's do something different. Let's start dealing with the individual versus dealing with the crime.
Actually, I agree with a lot of what Chuck McGill just said. I would say that accountability hasn't been the problem. There's been the specter of going to prison for a very long time for failing drug programs. What we do know, we have the data. The empirical data is there. We do know what works. It's not short-term drug treatment, it is long-term drug treatment. So we have to pick the types of programs that do work and provide incentive, not just punishment, but incentive to succeed in these programs. I agree about community involvement. That's not something necessarily that a judge can do too much about. I previously was part of Volunteers in Parole, where I was matched up with a parolee who came out of prison, and she had wrestled with drug addiction problems. And we were matched together, and she eventually got her children back and her life back. I think when you get the community involved, you really can start to heal. But we do, as a judge, you have the opportunity to look at what works and to treat these people, as Chuck said, as human beings, not just criminals.
Coming in before you here and telling you that we need to incarcerate more, that we need to have a greater stick, a greater carrot to get people to move forward, denies the uniqueness of every person that comes in front of you as a judge. For the past 5.5 years, I watched numerous individuals come through my court that have dealt through the criminal process as well. I was a criminal defense attorney for 20 years and watched the same process. Judges who closed their eyes to the uniqueness of the individuals that come before them Every person deserves the opportunity who's a nonviolent, non-serious offender to be considered for an alternative program. Anybody who comes in here today or before today and tells you that alternative programs need to be eliminated, diversion needs to be eliminated, that it's a waste of time, is prejudging the case. And that's not the kind of person you want on the bench.
Okay, we have one final question. And then, as I stated, each of you will have the opportunity to ask one of the other candidates a follow-up question to one of the questions. I know that sounds confusing, but that's what it is. Final question. What will you do to create equitable opportunities for African Americans in your office, in your court?
Start down here? Mm-hmm. All right. As I noted, you don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody that comes in, everybody here today has different attributes, talents, and convictions that all have to be appreciated, understood, and looked at. In my business, working for the state of California, we don't have that problem. We hire regardless of race. Race isn't the issue, character is the issue. And that's what's important in my courtroom now, and that's what I bring to the Superior Court if elected on June 3rd. Character is what counts.
I do think that it's important that our judiciary and our institutions of justice reflect the diversity in the population, because the fact is that you need to have a breadth of experience, a breadth of experience base to adequately understand what other people are going through and how they got in front of you. And none of us have that broad base individually. It's part of having a team around you, having a lot of people who can give you a different perspective and help you assess the situation. I would welcome the opportunity to work with people of varying backgrounds, and I hope that we do more of that in our court system, because I think it's sorely needed.
Let me just say this. My late wife was Filipino, Hispanic, Portuguese, and Hungarian. She was an interracial girl. And the reality is, I didn't look at her by her color, I looked at her by her heart. And the reality that we've got to have as judges, we have to have judges who are colorblind. They're not focusing on whether there's someone in front of them who's African American or Hispanic. They've got to start being heartfelt volunteers, and they've got to be serving us as servants, not standing there and forming positions where they're not trying to help people. I'm running in this campaign because I believe we need somebody from the outside who's independent, not part of the judiciary, not part of the DA's office, not married to the DA's office, not married to the court, someone who's completely independent. And that's what I bring, is an independent, colorblind view of justice. And that's sorely needed in our courts right now.
As I touched on earlier, justice is blind, and certainly race is not a consideration. And so certainly any judge must make sure that no matter who the parties are, people, the defendant, civil litigants, plaintiffs, defendants, it's the judge's responsibility, and their responsibility not only to the litigants but to everyone in the community, to make sure that a fair playing field is made available to all, no matter who you are in this community, and that no matter who you are in this community, you have access to the court process.
I think everyone up here will tell you that they're going to judge fairly and not look at things such as color or background. I don't think there's going to be a single individual up here that's going to say anything different. I think we have to go farther. I think you actually have to go out into the communities. You have to be involved. The judge that's retiring for this particular spot was very involved in the community. He was in downtown Rotary, like myself. I'm involved with Fresno Farm Bureau, National Latino Peace Officers Association. I'm the former scholarship chair, sergeant of arms, and vice president of the Hillary King's Latino Peace Officers Association. You have to get out into the communities and learn what their issues are. I've done outreach. I'm hoping to do outreach to the African American community. I've done it to the Hmong community, the Lao community, the Hispanic community. You have to get out and determine what their particular issues are, take that with you to court so you have an understanding of the people that are actually appearing in front of you. That's the kind of work you have to do as a judicial officer. Thank you.
Are there any candidates that have a question they'd like to pose to one of the other candidates? Yes, Mr. Smith.
All right, this question is for Ms. Gamoyan. Ms. Gamoyan, in front of all the other forums that we've been at, you've boasted about your conviction rate, you've boasted about the number of people that you've convicted of the death penalty. It's my understanding you proudly display your death warrants you've obtained on the wall in your office, and yet today you speak about justice is blind, that it's fair and an even playing field. How can you reconcile your prior comments in front of other forums with your comments today, and how can you provide these folks that are here today assurances that you're going to be fair and impartial?
As a deputy district attorney, I'm sworn with the responsibilities of ensuring that the defendants and the people in every single case I prosecute receive a fair trial. I'm very proud of my record protecting the people and the citizens and the victims in my cases. I do have a very high conviction rate. I have been a deputy district attorney for 25 years, and I do try the most complex, serious cases in this county. So consequently, yes, I do have 3 death commitments. People, one of whom is Marcus Wesson, who murdered 9 of his own children. He is on death row. I was the prosecutor. I'm very proud of that fact. I'm also proud of the fact that I have done 31 murder jury trials, 2 verdicts, all guilty. Yes, I'm very proud of that. And there's no inconsistencies with anything I've said today. Every one of the defendants that I have convicted received a fair trial.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question they'd like to pose? If not, then we will start with the closing statements. And where is the microphone? Okay, we'll start with you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. For the past 5.5 years working for the people of the state of California, I've had the great opportunity of sitting in hearing rooms and watching individuals bounce back, pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and get back to work despite this financial meltdown that's occurred, the worst one we've seen since the Depression. As part of this system, hearing these cases, my job has been to be fair and impartial to every person that comes across, not only saying I'm going to be fair and impartial, but doing it. So I bring to the bench 50 years of local experience. I didn't come here to go to school. I didn't come here for a job. I already was here and came back to Fresno after that job. I bring a conservative work ethic to the bench, somebody who hasn't quit other jobs, somebody who has been at state rate for 5.5 years, applying reasoned justice, meeting federal guidelines and standards. I'm also, lastly, the only person up here who has any judicial training or experience. Okay, that'll be it.
Thank you very much for putting on this forum again. I would note that the people that have had the opportunity to see all of us in court and how we comport ourselves, how we assess cases, what we think is, what we believe justice is and means, and how we go about trying to be part of dispensing that. I've got the vast majority of those people endorsing me. I've got more judges endorsing me than any other. And even though that may not seem like it's that essential a thing, I think it does. It's very telling. It tells you and the community what other people who have assessed all of our work, what they think of us. I was endorsed by the Chamber of Commerce. I was endorsed by city firefighters. I was endorsed by the chair of the Central Valley Veterans PAC and the Fresno Central Democratic Club. Susan Anderson has endorsed me. She's known me for years, and part of the reason that she's endorsed me is because she knew my passion for juvenile justice, my passion for mental health court, my passion for drug treatment, and understands that I want to get to the root of the problem. I want to make our community safer, and I'm equipped to make tough decisions to make that happen.
If you don't mind, I'll stand. Because I feel a little
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for allowing us to speak. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to see justice occurring. Thank you. My name is Charles McGill, and I've been practicing in Fresno for 25 years doing primarily criminal defense work. I've represented a lot of folks in this community. I came to this decision to run for judge because it was time for me to do something different. I think it's time for us to have independence on the bench. We need balance. I'm not part of the DA's office. I'm not married to a DA. I'm not married to a judge. I'm independent from the bench. And right now, we need independence. We have way too many district attorneys on the bench already. At this time, we need someone who can come up with new ideas. I am that man. I am the person that can come up with the ideas from the private sector that no one else is going to be able to come up with. I want your vote. And I think if you vote for me, you'll get a public servant who will serve you, the constituency, not serve my retirement, not serve my friendship with others on the bench.
Of all the candidates, I'm the one that, for the longest period of time and with the greatest success rate, has been in the trenches every day for the last 25 years. I prosecute the most complex cases. I do it in a real courtroom, applying the real evidence code and real law against the best defense attorneys in the area. And I do that on a regular basis. I too, I believe, am the best representation of this county. I'm from this area. I grew up, didn't grow up in a privileged atmosphere. My family's been here for 3 generations. I grew up with people from very diverse cultures, from different economic backgrounds. I best reflect Fresno County. Additionally, I'm proud to say that I'm endorsed by the Fresno Police Officers Association, the Deputy Sheriff's Association, the District Attorney Investigators and Prosecutors, the people who know me best, who work with me. I'm also endorsed by Reverend Paul McCoy, Victor Lopez, who is Orange Cove's mayor, Armando Lopez from Parlier, Larry Powell, Henry T. Perea, and Luis Chavez. Thank you.
I would like your vote. I started off as a police officer. I put myself through law school. I've been an attorney for 12 years, a prosecutor for 9 years, a crimes prosecutor. I have the endorsements, since we're talking endorsements, of Congressman Kevin McCarthy, Assemblywoman Connie Conway, State Senator Gene Fuller, Sheriff Bill Whitman. I have 7 judges that are endorsing me. I'm also endorsed by Tulare County District Attorney Tim Ward. So as far as endorsements go, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm also endorsed by Clovis Polycom. I'm endorsed by Cigar Mosfino and their owner, Sarah Souza. I'm also endorsed by Campos Farms. I believe, and these people believe, that I bring innovative, new ideas, which you can see on my website at jaredkleinforjudge.com. We've had a lot of talk about here about ideas and innovation of the bench. I actually outlined what we need to do. It is not some vague, ephemeral idea out in the atmosphere. I have a plan that I want to implement, and I would like your support and your vote. Thank you.